Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar. My name is Fawzi Bawab, and it is a pleasure to welcome you on this short webinar on this exciting tool called the Failure Modes and Effect Analysis, or for short FMEA. I am broadcasting from the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, a rainy day here, and I hope that you are enjoying your weather, your time at your location. Before we start, let me just clear out a couple of logistics or housekeeping issues. Just a quick note that this webinar is recorded and will be shared on Meirc website and YouTube channel, so you can come back and watch it as many times as you wish. To get us started, just a quick review of the topics that we have planned for you today. We'll start with explaining the importance of the discussion and why are we attempting to understand the concept of the FMEA and its implications on quality and operational excellence. We will start talking about history of the FMEA, and then we'll engage into the uses and benefits, and of course, how do we build an FMEA using the international accepted structure. We will take a couple of examples, and then we will share with you some takeaways and then take questions if you have any questions at the end. So I would urge you just to keep your questions till the end. You can use the chat function if you wish to send your questions, and then we will take these questions and try to answer them at the end. Before we get started, maybe a quick introduction of our organization. I represent a company called Meirc Training and Consulting, which is one of the leading training and consulting companies in the Middle East region. Our operation started in 1958, and then we expanded into other locations, including the UAE, including the Gulf states as well. We have a number of branches in the region. Our head office is in Dubai, and our consultants fly to different locations to deliver two main services, I would call them: the corporate training, developing competencies of employees at different organizations. We have the public courses, which we offer in different cities, including Dubai, London, Istanbul, Barcelona, and all these other countries. We have also in-house courses where we fly in and we deliver our customized solutions to our partners and our clients. We have consulting services as well, and some coaching services that we offer to some of our clients. We have over 300 courses under 26 categories. The categories, they basically range from project management, planning and strategy, quality, sales, marketing. So you're probably going to find one of the topics that you might be interested in that will help you develop your career. Some of our courses are accredited, meaning that you'll have to go through an exam or a project to qualify and to gain the international certification, such as the PMI or the SHRM, which is the Society for Human Resource Management, or maybe the ASQ. Some of the courses are accredited as well. My name is Fawzi, and I'm a partner with Meirc Training and Consulting. I joined Meirc in 2004, became a partner in 2007. Before joining Meirc, I used to live and work in the Canadian capital, Ottawa, working with a number of organizations, including KPMG and IBM. I worked also as a quality manager with IBM and a consultant with a regional consulting company called Talal Abu Ghazali Consulting Company. My experience ranges from operational excellence, quality, training as well, where I develop or I work with companies to develop the competence of their staff in Six Sigma, in TQM, in ISO 9000. I led many external audits leading to certification with BSI. I have a degree in engineering, civil engineering, which is my bachelor's degree, a master's degree in industrial engineering, and my PhD focuses on operational excellence from the Edinburgh Business School at Heriot-Watt University. Expertise, as you can tell, operational excellence, developing quality systems, leadership training, and strategy as well. So these are the areas that I specialize in, and it is indeed a pleasure to be with you here today to try to pass some of the knowledge that I have gained over the years. Why are we talking about this specific tool, FMEA? It is basically a tool that can help organization to take that proactive approach in looking at their processes and anticipating failure. So we can basically put in we can put in measures to try to avoid these failures or mitigate the risk as well. So we're trying to avoid what we call corrective action, which happens after the fact. We're trying to anticipate that failure. So adopting a preventative mindset to assess failures before they happen, we can use that in quality systems, we can use that in risk management, and of course, that will yield better usage of our resources, reducing waste and financial losses. And basically, this tool, which engages the teams within the organization, they can basically help us use that mindset to anticipate failures and then put in some measures to try to avoid that. So it is using that predicted approach to assess failures. Now, of course, this relates closely to quality. Quality is a relative term, and eventually it is based on customer perception, based on how we read the customer requirements and how we deliver quality. Our services can go through a cycle, and we need to eventually control our quality. We need to look at areas of improvement. We can fail in designing our services, in our products. We can fail during the production of our service or products, and hence having that mindset where we are anticipating errors and we're asking what if and what are the failure modes becomes a critical item on our agenda in quality. So what is this failure mode and effect analysis? We're basically trying to get into the process, understand how the process operates, but then taking that approach where we start anticipating, listing the causes of failure that could happen in any of the stages that we have listed, and then engaging in a root cause analysis where we can put in some actions where we can mitigate the risk and we can try to reduce that risk measure. So we're taking an approach where we're quantifying risk and putting it into a number which we refer to as the risk priority number. And then the team has to prioritize and then select some of the steps to try to mitigate the risk. And if you ask me about the history, basically started in the US military, 1940s. It was later on adopted and used by aerospace and automotive industries. So many of the automotive and aerospace industries, which basically are governed by strict regulations and standards, for example, the ISO 16949 or AS 9100, it is a requirement, a mandatory requirement to assess risk, and the FMEA tend to be one of the tools that they continuously use to assess their production, their manufacturing, and some of the critical steps that they have in their operations. Banking can use it, healthcare can use it. You can even use it on your own process if you want to go on vacation. sometimes I do that, which is maybe a little bit extreme, but it gives you a little bit of perspective of what could go wrong during your vacation, and then what would be the steps that you need to think of ahead of your vacation, and then maybe mitigate the risk by introducing some measures or detection protocols. And if you want to summarize the benefits, we're talking about failure anticipation. We're talking about doing an RCA, or root cause analysis, into the process. You're trying to understand and prioritize what would be a preventative action or even a corrective action that you could basically put in place if a failure has occurred. Um, Basically, it's the Murphy's law, right? It's how you say, if something is gonna go wrong, it might as well go wrong. So you're trying basically to anticipate that and manage the risk by having this structured approach, excuse me, where you identify the different failure modes and you analyze it. FMEA also can be used in other methodologies. One of the well-known methodologies is the Six Sigma methodology, where during the one of the stages, the analyze, and later on at the control, we can use the FMEA to try to shed more light on the process and the steps and the risk that we take there. Now, who usually is involved with the FMEA? It's a cross-functional team, of course, where we might engage people from different functions, sales and marketing, purchasing, even customers sometimes are invited to these sessions to try to understand what could be a risk from their point of view. Of course, if you're in production or manufacturing, definitely they will have a presence in that meeting. You need to get information, whether it's previous information, reliability data, whether it's your warranty data, your customer complaints, government regulations. So we can think of different sources where we can get the information and use it for discussion. We may have two different types of FMEAs. One focuses more on the design stage, and one focuses more on the process itself. And this is where you could use it at different stages. And of course, using it at the early stages would give you better benefits, as you tend to take a more of a preventative approach. As we said, design FEMAs we usually would happen initiated before or at the design concept, and you process FEMAs should be initiated before or at the feasibility stage prior to product build. Now, we need to keep these documents to be updated all the time, i.e. they become a living documents, and they would be continuously updated, and we expect there should be some kind of a periodic review for these documents, because we learn from our mistakes, we learn from other organizations or similar organizations, and we need sometimes to update them to ensure that we can avoid the mistakes. So we're learning from the others while we're learning from our own performance. This is how it happens. Basically, we need to break down our process, list the functions, and then start putting the potential failure modes, the consequences, and then we engage in this quantifying of risk, where we would use this risk priority number, RPN for short, where we use severity, probability, and then the detection. And then the next step would be to think about the actions that we need to put in place to try to reduce that risk number. Now, to make this a little bit simpler and maybe clearer, we basically could go and engage and start developing what we call the matrix that we will use to identify the elements that I just described. So maybe a process flow would be useful for us, where we can identify the steps, and then we could engage into a fishbone Ishikawa diagram to start thinking about what could be the potential causes. And then all of this information would feed into this matrix where it becomes some kind of a table or a matrix where we identify all these items. The very important step here is to get the team to agree on the risk measures. Now, how do we measure risk? This nice chart I found on the net, it just gives you a little bit of how the risk is quantified. Most organizations will have their own measures, could be high, low, medium. In this case, we are looking at the possibility of, something happening. If you put a man with some meat with this lion, I mean, the risk is extreme, correct? The probability is very high. The severity, we might have a death situation. And if you think here of the moderate risk, where we start to give the guys, the person, some protective devices, you might reduce the severity, but not the probability. And as you move out, the possibility is less, severity is less. And then if you see the green one, you can see here that we might eliminate the whole risk here. The possibility of reaching the person is very, well, it's minimal. That's why it's 0. And then the severity is 0. So this is where we take the approach where we quantify the risk by looking at the numbers. And this is where the RPN, which is the way that we do the FMEA calculation of risk, and we assess the 3 elements, which are severity, occurrence, probability, and then detection. Of course, the S and the O, the higher that we have that scenario, then the number would be higher, and we take an approach where we put 1 to 10. And then, of course, the D is saying, is there a way to detect the failure before it happens, or it gives you a sensor or an alarm? Then as the detection goes higher, then the number 1 to 10 would go lower. And hence the higher number of RPN tends to be more what becomes our concern, basically. So the priority is then defined by having a higher number. So using a rating of 1 to 5 will give us an RPN scale 1 to 25, whereas 1 to 10 will give us a wider scale of 1 to 1000. So again, when we meet with the teams, we tell them just don't get hung up on whether the rating is 5 or 6. Just agree as a team, and then accept the voice of the majority and use that number in your FEMA. So here's an example for how severity, probability or occurrence, they call it O, and then detection is portrayed. So you can see here, we're thinking about a healthcare situation, a hospital. A 10 means that we will have a death in a hospital. If you think of the probability, if it's confirmed to happen, then that's a occurrence of 10. Now, if there is no detection, and there is no way to tell us that there will be a detection, maybe the D will be 10 in this case. Again, as the detection goes higher or better, then the D, or the number of detection, becomes less, because then you're trying to reduce the overall number of RPN. And then the team will have to, depending on the industry, they'll have to come up with their own scales and tables, and then they will use these tables as a guideline. So whether you're in manufacturing, aerospace, or automotive, or healthcare, or government, then you can use specific tables to build your FMEA. And here, the slides here just explain how the matrix will look. I think maybe it's better just to jump to show you the actual, all these slides, they explain the elements of the matrix. So I think I have here something on the matrix that shows you exactly how it looks. And this is where we start filling in the details of the matrix. So the steps that we would have in place, and then what would be the potential failure mode that we basically got this information from the RCA or the Ishikawa, and then we would quantify that by the severity column, and then the occurrence, and then the detection. And as you can see here, you would see the RPN number appearing here. So you start filling in the details for the steps. Of course, this is not complete until the team decides on the higher or the highest RPN numbers, and that becomes your priority in terms of the recommended action, and then who is doing it, what time. Once it is done, we do expect that the action taken is completed, and you'll see here a change in these numbers. Most of the time, we tend to see a change in the detection, and then the RPN number here will be much less than the RPN number that was here, which is on the same level, which is the same function. So if you think here of an example, so here is again just the template of the FMEA function, potential, severity, occurrence, and then you'll need to fill here the numbers to look something like this. So here's an example where you can immediately see that here is the name of the function, here is the potential failure, here is the consequence of the failure, because this is what we're trying to evaluate. And then you can see the team has agreed that they have put 7 here, they have put 3 here, they have put 3 here. Now you can see here that this function or this step here has basically the highest RPN, which means that if I want to give a priority for the actions we want to do to reduce risk, this would be the one where I would basically say the team decided to install tool detectors. So something to detect the tool failure. And then we gave it to John Doe, and then the actions was completed. And hence, you can see here that we have dropped the detection, right? And hence we are saying that it's 25%. So we, by increasing detection, the number will go down, and hence the RPN compared to this one has reduced. And we continue looking at this document, trying to reduce the RPNs as we go there. So this tool gives you the team work, the cross-functional advantage, the analysis of the processes you're interested in that are critical to your clients, using a number of tools like the RCA, and then assessing the risk from different perspectives. Here's also another example where a bank is assessing their ATMs, and they would like to see where would be the highest RPN. So if you look at the RPN here, you can see definitely you have here RPNs, that number. So you must do something here. You must show that you have done your due diligence and you have taken some action to mitigate the risk. And again, I remind you that this is something that is mandatory in certain industries, where you have to show that you're continuously updating this document. Uh, you know, uh, Something that to share with you, that once you have identified your improvements and your preventive action, the anticipated RPN should be calculated again. And again, the RPN number would go down as an indication that your risk has been reduced as well. So this is the whole aim of this discussion, and this tool is to use a tool to help us identify risk, and then use it to build a living document that will become something that we discuss internally. Takeaways. The FMEA is a tool used to examine key elements of a process. And of course, we tend to pick and select the critical processes in our organization. We use it to prioritize preventive action. And I emphasize on the word preventive actions via the RPN. and the FMEA is led by the by the black belt, and is a project team exercise using a rating system of 1 to 10 provides better separation of issues than the scaled 1 to 5. So when we put the RPN, we tend to use the 1 to 10. Some of these topics that I mentioned in more detail, such as the RCA, the Six Sigma, we tend to talk about them in more detail in some of our courses at Meirc. So all you have to do, go to our website and check under the quality and productivity category, and you will see a number of these courses that are scheduled in different locations where you can join and, of course, learn more in depth about these tools as well. That's what I have for you today. I hope you have enjoyed the session. If you have any questions, you can always, reach me by email. I prefer email, so I always can respond to you in a timely manner, and provide a thorough answer. If you have any questions, let me know. There's any questions right now, you can just send them on the chat menu, and then I can take it from there. Otherwise, it was lovely talking to you this afternoon, and look forward to meeting you in the near future. All right, any questions, anything? Okay, thank you. All right, no questions. If you have any questions, feel free to send them to me through my email again. And I thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this quick webinar and quick session. And until we see you again, have a lovely afternoon and an evening wherever you are. Thank you very much.
Meirc.com